Hello students, now we are going to discuss some important topics in first lesson electrostatics. First one is continuous charge distribution. Let us imagine a system which consists of n number of charge elements like del Q1, del Q2, del Q3 and so on up to del Qn. What will be the electric field at the point P due to this charged object? It will be equal to the sum of all the charged elements. So let us imagine all the charged elements del Q1, del Q2, del Q3 and so on up to del Qn are present at a distance R1, R2, R3 and Rn from the point P. So the net electric field at the point P will be equal to E vector is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into del Q1 divided by R1P squared into R1P cap plus del Q2 divided by R2P squared into R2P cap plus and so on up to del Qn divided by Rnp squared into Rnp cap. Here R1P indicates the unit vector which is directed from the charge element Q1 to the point P, and R2P vector indicates the unit vector which is directed from the charge element Q2 to the point P. Here all the terms in the brackets can be written as a single term under summation such that E vector is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught sigma I is equal to 1 to n del Qi divided by Rip squared into Rip cap. In the previous video we have discussed about this point that for the continuous charge distribution the integration must be used. So with respect to that point the above equation will become as an integral form like E vector is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught integral dq by r squared into r cap. First one is linear charge distribution. Look at the first picture. Let us imagine the uniformly charged wire. Let capital Q be the charge of the wire and capital L be the length of the wire. What is the charge density of the wire? The charge density of the wire is indicated by the symbol lambda, which is equal to Q divided by L. So the charge density is equal to charge per length. So let us imagine if the wire is divided into n number of smaller segments. So let dq be the charge of the each segment and dl be the length of the each segment. In that case the linear charge density of the smaller segment can be written as lambda is equal to dq by dl. From this equation comes dq is equal to lambda into dl. So let us imagine the point P which is kept at a distance r from the smaller segment dl. So what will be the electric field at the point? That can be written as E vector is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught integral dq by r squared into r cap. Here dq in the numerator will become lambda into dl. So here lambda is said to be constant, so it will come outside. So E vector is equal to lambda divided by 4 pi epsilon naught integral dl by r squared into r cap. This equation helps to determine the electric field at any point near the charged wire. Next one is surface charge distribution. We have to follow the same steps what we have done for linear charge distribution. Let us imagine a charged surface. Let capital Q be the charge of the surface and capital A be the area of the surface. And what is the density of the surface? The surface charge density is indicated by the symbol sigma, where sigma is equal to Q by A. which means that the surface charge density is defined as the charge per area. So let us imagine the charge surface sheet is divided into n number of smaller area like dA. In that case, what will be the surface charge density, which can be written as sigma is equal to dq by dA. From that equation, this equation arises. dq is equal to sigma into dA. Hence, what will be the electric field at a point P from the charged surface? That can be determined by the equation E vector is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught integral sigma dA divided by r squared into r cap, where sigma is constant. Take it outside. Hence, E vector is equal to sigma by 4 pi epsilon naught integral dA by r squared into r cap. Next one is volume charge distribution. Let us imagine uniformly charged object of volume capital V. Let capital Q be the charge of the object. And what will be the charge density of the object? That can be determined by the equation rho is equal to Q by V, which means that the volume charge density is defined as the charge per volume. Let us imagine the object is divided into n number of portions. Let dq be the charge of each portion and dv be the volume of each portion. In that case, the volume charge density of the object can be written as rho is equal to dq by dv. From that equation, this equation comes such that dq is equal to rho into dv. Hence, the electric field at a point P from the charged volume of the object can be written as E vector is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught integral rho dv divided by r squared into r cap. Here rho is constant, so you can take it outside. Hence, rho divided by 4 pi epsilon naught integral dv by r squared into r cap. Girls, we have come across 3 different equations. These equations are very much helpful to determine the electric field at any point near the continuous distribution of charges of any shape. Next, some important points about electric field. First point, look at the picture. Q is given. What is Q? It is the source charge. If the source charge is positive, the electric field at a point P will act away from the source charge. If the charge Q is negative, then the electric field at the point P will act towards the source charge. See the next point. Look at the picture. There is a source charge Q is said to be positive. Let us imagine the point P at a distance R. If the test charge Q0 is kept at that point P, what will be the force experienced by the test charge? It will act away from the source charge. Similarly, if the source charge is said to be the negative, in that case, the test charge Q0 kept at a point P at a distance R from the source charge will experience the force which is acting towards the source charge. So, the force experienced by the test charge can be determined by the equation F vector is equal to Q0 into E vector. From this equation, it is understood that the force depends only on the source charge Q but not upon the test charge Q0. Since the electric field is said to be a vector quantity, it has unique direction and magnitude at every point on the space. Next one is electric field due to positive charge and electric field due to negative charge. Look at the first picture. Let us imagine a positive charge kept at a point. Let us imagine three different points P, Q and R around the positive charge Q. And here we are going to discuss about at which point the electric field will be greater. It is sure that the point which is nearer to the source charge, at that point only the electric field will be greater. Hence, electric field at a point P, EP vector is said to be greater than the electric field at a point Q and R. Similarly, we can explain it for a negative charge. Let us imagine a negative charge is placed at a point. Let us imagine three different points like P, Q and R around the point charge. And we have to discuss that at which point the electric field is said to be greater. Definitely, the point P is said to be nearer to the source charge. So, the electric field at the point P, EP vector is said to be greater than the electric field at a point Q and R. Usually, the test charge is considered to be sufficiently small so that it will not affect the source charge and it will not modify the electric field around the source charge. There are two kinds of electric field. One is uniform or constant electric field and another one is non-uniform electric field. Look at the picture. The picture shows that the uniform electric field will have equal magnitude and same direction. But the non-uniform electric field may be represented by the same magnitude but opposite in direction, or by the same direction but opposite in magnitude. Usually, the field around the point charge is said to be non-uniform electric field, which means that when the distance increases around a point charge, there will be a change in magnitude as well as a direction. Next one is superposition of electric field. Let us imagine a system which consists of n number of charges like Q1, Q2 and so on up to Qn. Let us imagine a point P near to the charged surface, and let us imagine R1 be the distance between the charge Q1 and the point P, and R2 be the distance between the charge Q2 and the point P. Similarly, for the nth charge, the distance between the nth charge and the point P is said to be Rn. And what will be the electric field at a point P due to the charge Q1? That can be represented by E1 vector is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into Q1 by R1P squared into R1P cap. Here R1P cap represents the unit vector which is directed from the charge Q1 to the point P. Similarly, for the second point charge, the field at a point P due to the point charge Q2 can be represented by the equation E2 vector is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into Q2 by R2P squared into R2P cap. Here R2P cap represents the unit vector which is directed from the charge Q2 to the point P. Similarly, the electric field at a point P due to the nth charged particle, that can be written as En vector is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into Q1 divided by Rnp squared into Rnp cap. Here Rnp cap represents the unit vector which is directed from the nth particle to the point P. Hence, the total electric field at a point P due to all these charges can be written as the sum of the electric field at a point due to each point charges, which can be written as total electric field vector is equal to E1 vector plus E2 vector plus and so on up to plus En vector. Hence, total electric field vector is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into q1 divided by r1p squared into r1p cap plus q2 divided by r2p squared into r2p cap plus and so on up to qn divided by rnp squared into rnp cap. Here 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught is taken outside because it is said to be common in all the equations E1 vector, E2 vector and En vector. Next one is about the electric field lines. Look at the picture. For a positive charge, the electric field around the point charge is said to be radially outward. Similarly, for the negatively charged point charge, the electric field around it is said to be radially inward. See the next picture. From the picture it is understood that the electric field around the point charges always starts from the positive charge and ends at the negative charge. Next point is about at which point the electric field is said to be greater or lesser. The electric field is said to be larger at the points at which the electric field lines are very closer to each other. The electric field is said to be lesser at the points at which the electric field lines are far apart from each other. Next one is electric field lines. Electric field lines are said to be a set of continuous and imaginary lines which are used for the visual representation of the electric field in some region of space. Next one, the properties of electric field lines. First point, the electric field lines usually starts from the positive charge and end at the negative charge or at infinity. Next one, the electric field vector at any point in space is represented by the tangent line to the electric field line at that point. Next point, the electric field lines are denser in the region where the electric field has larger magnitude and less dense in region where the electric field is of smaller magnitude, such that the number of lines are passing through the given surface area perpendicular to the line is proportional to the magnitude of the electric field. Next point, no two electric field lines will intersect with each other. Next point is about the number of electric field lines that emerge from the positive charge or end at the negative charge is directly proportional to the magnitude of the charges. Next one, example 1.9. The question, the following picture depicts the electric field lines for various charge configurations. First question, in figure A, identify the signs of two charges and find the ratio Q1 by Q2, which is written in modulus. First, we have to check from where the electric field lines start and where it ends. Starts from charge Q2 and ends at charge Q1. From this, it is understood that the charge Q2 is said to be positive and the charge Q1 is said to be negative. And next we have to find the number of lines emerging from the charge Q2. Count the lines which are emerging out from the charge Q2. There are 18. Similarly, we have to check the number of lines entering to the charge Q1. Here, the number of lines entering the charge Q1 is said to be 6. So, what will be the ratio Q1 by Q2, which can be written as N1 by N2, which is equal to 6 by 18, which will become 1 by 3. It implies that mod Q2 is equal to 3 into mod Q1. Next question, in figure B, calculate the ratio of two positive charges and identify the strength of electric field at 3 points A, B and C. First, let us discuss about the ratio of two positive charges. Before that, First we have to see the number of lines emerging out from the first positive charge. Count the number of lines, it will be nearly around 18. And similarly you have to check the number of lines emerging out from the second charge. It is nearly equal to what? It is also 18. From this it is understood that the number of lines emerging from each charges is said to be equal. Hence the ratio of the charges is said to be 1. So next question is about identify the strength of electric field at 3 points A, B and C. Look at the points A and B first. First you have to check the nature of the lines. How the lines are seen to be. Since the lines are closer to each other at point A and B, the electric field is said to be greater. Look at the point C. Since there is no field lines, the electric field at that point C becomes 0. Thank you students. Leave your doubts in the comment box.